Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you what I believe are the top 5 applications you need to install after a fresh 2017 Windows installation. So the rules for this list are that there are no web browsers and no antivirus software, because those are things that do come built into Windows, and which browser or antivirus you use is very much personal choice. Of course, those two things you do need, but we're going to skip those. So in order, number 5, first thing you're going to need is a Codec Pack, primarily for video playback. Now, there's two really solid ones out there that I like, K-Lite Codec Pack and the CCCP, I think it's 3 C's and then a P, Codec Pack. And what these contain are a lot of different files that help you to run different videos in your media player of choice. So if you have Windows Movie Player open and you're trying to run a video and it doesn't run, there's a good chance you don't have your codecs installed properly. So that's why you've got to do this pretty much right after booting your computer. You will not regret installing extra codecs for video playback. Next up, you need a PDF reader, and the one I like to go with is Foxit Reader, but Adobe Reader is fine as well, and quite possibly more popular. So Foxit Reader and Adobe Reader, what they basically do is allow you to open up PDF documents on your computer. Now, if you've been doing business or just browsing around the internet, downloading files, you've run into a PDF at some point in time. Whenever people need something that's a bit more complicated than a Word document or a form that you can print out, it's probably a PDF. So having the ability to read it with Foxit Reader or Adobe Reader or something like that is pretty critical, and you should install that right after a fresh Windows installation. Next up is an email client. The one I go with is Thunderbird. I like it a lot. The reason you would want a desktop client is that you can manage multiple email addresses simultaneously. You don't need to use a web browser anymore to go ahead and do email. You can just do everything on your desktop. I even have Thunderbird open right now at the bottom, and it's just a really solid tool for managing your email, checking messages, and since it's something everybody needs to do at some point or another, especially if you're doing business, Thunderbird's a really solid tool, and I like it a lot. I would always install that day one with my Windows installations. So, number 2 is GIMP, the GNU Image Manipulation Program. Now, this one might be a little bit biased on my list because obviously I create video thumbnails all the time, but I think just about everybody has some use for an image editor. And the honest truth is that the paint that's built into all versions of Windows is actually not too feature-rich. If you want to do things like custom text or layers is a better example. You can do text, of course, in Paint, but to add things like drop shadow, to customize your layers, to manage it, to not accidentally destroy your entire document because well, you didn't have layer management, for instance, you need a program like GIMP to really do image editing that's remotely professional. Now, the premium version of something like this would be Photoshop. There's also some other alternatives out there. As far as free ones go, GIMP is probably the #1 option, and then Photoshop is obviously a really good choice if you're into professional work or you're just looking to spend some money on something better. And number 1, what I would say you're going to want is 7-zip, WinRAR, or any other zip archive extraction or compression tool. The reason for this is that if you're doing any kind of file transfer or downloads, you're going to run into a .zip file, a .rar file, or maybe a .7z file, or any other of these compressed file formats. If you're downloading a lot of files, people like to put their files in compressed formats for multiple reasons. 1, it reduces the file size. 2, it puts all the files in one, so you only have to download or upload one file, which is really key for emails, where you don't want to do an attachment for every single file. And these tools, just as you go and install other programs, probably, you're going to need to extract something somewhere. And these are a good step up from the built-in Windows zip extraction tool. I'm not actually sure which formats those support. I know it does zip. I'm not sure if the default Windows one can do RAR. I like to go with 7-zip, but WinRAR is a very popular choice out there as well, which has been around since sometime in the 90s or even earlier, I think. So that's going to be the top 5 list for the apps you need to install right after you're installing Windows in 2017. And to top off the list, one thing I would say is that Ninite.com is a really sweet tool for doing these kinds of things. It's basically an all-in-one installer, completely free, and you just pick the tools that you want out of this list. You download the installer, and it will install everything in the background without prompting you for yes or no on every single application. And all the ones I mentioned here, Codec, K-Lite Codecs, PDF, which was Foxit Reader, Thunderbird, GIMP, and 7-Zip are all available on this tool. I always use it when I'm doing a fresh Windows install. So I really hope this video has helped you guys out. I've been Chris, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on my future video content.